Hi there, what's up? So today we are studying how to write the perfect story for the first certificate of English test. Okay, so as you know, we have been practicing with essays. This is writing part two. Part two, that's good. Okay, part two. This is writing part two, and in writing part two, you have five different options. Okay, one of them is the essay, another one is the story. So today we are starting with the story thing. Okay, so in the story we also have structure. Okay, now what I'm going to teach you is first the structure for the story, second essential keywords you need for the story, third necessary things that the story has to have for it to really be a good story. Okay, so let's start with the structure. Good structure. I'm attaching a link or a description. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I most probably you will find a link in the description with a photograph of a possible structure for the story, which is something like this. Okay, so at the beginning of your story, you want to present your characters, you want to introduce them, right? But this is not a very long story. I think it's like 180 words or something like that, so let's keep it short. Let's start directly with the conflict. The conflict is the problem of the story. Okay, if you don't have a conflict in a story, you have nothing. Okay, you have to find something controversial. So the first step we are going to do is we are going to draw a character map. Okay, in a character map you set all your characters, which should be like maybe 2 or 3, no more, because you know this is not a very long format. So let's have 2 or 3 characters, and you devise the interactions between them. For example, if you have 2 characters and they hate each other, you write character 1, character 2, and double cross here, and you say hate each other. Okay, and you have a third one, and you say they love this person but they hate each other. Okay, so you have here like a character triangle, and you can play with it. That however is optional. It really helps when you are going to write a story, because if you start writing the story just like this, you probably will feel that you don't have enough resources. Okay, so you really should do the character map. Okay, it shouldn't be very elaborate, just something, just go with the flow, follow your instincts. Second thing you need to do is to devise the plot, to structure your story. As I was saying, you need a conflict. Okay, the conflict, the character map will tell you the conflict. Just a quick glance at it will tell you the conflict right away. You see the conflict and you say, okay, the conflict is this. And then the second thing you need, which is also one of the most important things in your story, is the rise in action. Okay, the rise in action is a series of events, one more exciting than the other, than the previous one every time, so that the reader goes like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, and when they are reaching this height, then you make the climax explode. Okay, so in the rise in action, you present the problem, and then you rise the action, and then boom, all right, climax. After the climax, the conflict is resolved, for the better or worse for the characters, and then the story is finished for you. You just let it go down and you just give it an ending. Okay, so I'm attaching an example too in the you have it in the WhatsApp group now, so you can read that example. That is an example by myself. As you can see, I have a very big problem with stories. That is, I write too much, and then I don't know how to cut down what I have written so that it still makes sense. And yeah, my story is rather long, but you should write shorter stories. Okay, the important thing with the example is not the length, is the structure of it. Okay, you can see how the conflict is presented, and you should feel a rise in action, like what is happening here, boom, climax. Okay, so examples, think of any movie I have lots of movies here. If you can recognize some of them, you can think of some examples about them. You can think about any short tale, any short story, any novel you have read recently, and you think, okay, what was the problem? And then how did it go up and up and up and up, and then you have the climax, okay? And then you can devise your story. That's the structure. Now, what you need for the story to be a good story is to narrate it in the past tense, okay? You are going to need the past simple. You always narrate in the past simple, and you introduce the past continuous, the past progressive when you need to explain how something that was happening was interrupted. For example, you can see some examples of this in my story too. You can have, for example, she was walking in the street when the thief appeared. Okay, she was walking when the thief appeared. All right, an interruption. Or you can have some parallel events. You can say, as she was walking in the street, her brother was riding a bike. Okay, parallel actions, again in the past continuous. Okay, but you are going to need the past simple all the time to describe the events that are happening in your story. Okay, you also need the past perfect to describe events that took place before the story actually takes place. Okay, so that is not actually the story itself, but the plot behind the story, like the past from the characters and that kind of thing. Okay, things that took place before the story started. Okay, good. Now you also need some keywords, which are suddenly, all of a sudden, which is similar. Okay, suddenly, and all of a suddenly. Oh my God, suddenly and all of a sudden are synonyms. Okay, I'm writing them down here in the description too. You also need, of course, when and while, obviously. And you also need some keywords to finish the story. Okay, remember in the essays we had something like to sum up, in conclusion. So now here we have finally, or even at last. Okay, at last it's like very dramatic. Okay, the conflict is finally resolved, so you say at last he could breathe. Okay, so that is more like, intense, right? One of the most important things in the story is how you start it. Okay, please don't make boring stories. Okay, the first sentence of the story should be like very, very, very catchy. Okay, you should write something that is both attractive and creepy. Okay, it should make me feel like I have to read this because I want to, but at the same time I don't want to read this. Okay, so you should make that right. For that thing we use the immediate rest thing, which you have probably studied at high school. That's Latin for in the middle of the action. Okay, you start your story in the middle of the action because you don't have length or time to write anything else. All right, so you just imagine your story, and now you say, okay, first this, and then this, and then this, and that. So now, where do I start? Here? No, I start in the middle of the action, and that way the reader is like, oh my God, what is this? Okay, and he or she has to do the work. You don't do the work for the reader. Let the reader figure it out. Okay, let him or her think about what's going on and that kind of thing. So that's the difficult thing. Difficulties of the story. The reader has to understand what you have written. Okay, so you have to write a story that is understandable and shocking. That is the challenge for you. Okay, and don't forget to write a title of the story. That is the last step. The last thing we do is rewrite the title of the story. Something attractive, but something that doesn't tell me something that doesn't spoil the end of the story. Okay, that is the first thing that I'm going to read, but that's the last thing you're going to write. Okay, you know the story, and then you say, okay, how can I make this story appealing without telling too much? That's the last step. Okay, again, if you have any questions, any doubts regarding the story, you can text me on WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group now, so we're connected 24/7. And again, we're having a live transmission on YouTube for 4 to 5 p.m. on Friday. So again, if you want to hang around, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions, okay? Take care, guys. Don't go crazy in this isolation thing. Goodbye.